Now we're going to go to Facebook Live, and then I'm going to make sure that it's on Facebook as well. Can you still hear me?
I can, yes.
Okay. It's asking me to write some. Is preparing. Can you still hear me?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Oh. All right. Can you hear me now? There's a bit of a lag.
I can.
Okay, let's see if it'll self-correct as we talk here. I don't know if I'm supposed to. Are you getting any feedback?
I am not.
One moment.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me try this one. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay. Let me see if we're going live on Facebook. Just smile pretty for the camera.
Can pick my teeth. Just kidding.
We are live on Facebook. Okay. All right. Well, I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I'm supposed to mute Facebook, so I'm going to do that.
Okay.
Here we go. Okay. Go ahead. Say something so I can make sure that we're going live and I can hear you.
I'm thrilled to be here.
Okay.
It's the most important thing to say, and I'm grateful.
Welcome to Authenticity. I
Thank
am
you.
so grateful and honored. We were speaking before we went live that I was going to try something new that I haven't done before, and that was go ahead and try to go live on Facebook from my own personal Zoom account. And so I honor and welcome you, Kerry
Jehanne, yeah.
Jehanne-Guadalupe. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for the welcome. Yeah.
You bet. Welcome to 2024. It's a brand new year. And I am honored to have you as my guest. I want to start off the show by just taking a couple deep breaths with me, if we could. Thank you.
Thank you too.
I want to start the show by asking you about your light language. I do a form of light language. It's not spoken, it is with my hands
Yeah.
and my body. It's something that I'm embodying at the moment. And so I wanted to hear your process and how you came about having and using your light language. And now you use it to assist others.
So I use it as an energy healing modality. And first of all, I love that it's working with you. It's working through your hands and your body as well. And if there's time, I'd love to hear more about that. But so for me, I was doing energy healing modalities before the light language had kicked in, and verbally at least. And so it started to come through my hands. And then when I did a Sundance ceremony, it's a Native American Lakota ceremony, and it entails 4 days with no food and no water. And so I was pretty in a pretty open state of being on the third day. And I had this feeling, I was like, oh, I think I'm supposed to say something. And I was like, this is not a ceremony where you're supposed to be chit-chatting, right? And so I was like, that's really interesting. And then a few moments later, it just started. And it was really, really fun, but I didn't know necessarily what to do with it after the ceremony. And I was really, really shy about it. And I was doing a workshop with my dear friend Sierra, and I was doing the modalities that I had been doing for a long time. And she said, I think we're supposed to say something. There's supposed to be a sound. And in my head, I was like, oh, I really hope it's not light language. Because at the time, I was really shy about
Mm.
it. And it was coming through as very interesting sounds that I wasn't necessarily feeling comfortable. They were fine, but they almost sounded like a little bit like a Muppet, and so I was a little shy about it, and just shy in general. Like, what is this, anyway, Sierra ohmed 3 times, and it was really beautiful. And I was like, oh, thank goodness, she took care of whatever was supposed to come through. And then she said, oh, but that's not it. And I said, oh, well, maybe it's the light language. And so I stood up and I did about 30 seconds of a light language, maybe a full minute. And then I sat down and someone opened their eyes and said, Kerry, that did sound a little bit like a Muppet, but I felt it. I felt it. And so that was the opening, and it took me a bit to incorporate it into the work that I was doing. And then at some point it just took over, and that's all I do now. So it was quite the progress of feeling quite shy about it. How do I utilize it? And then over time, it got it. Like, I understood how to work with it as an energy healing modality. And I was started to see how all the other modalities I had been trained in were so helpful for me to understand what was going on in the light language as it was being transmitted. And it's just super fun. I just love it, and I've been growing with it, and it's been changing as I grow, and different songs will now come through and different chants, and so it's been a progress. Oh, now I get the feedback part, the the um, the audio feedback, but it just went away. So maybe we'll go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm being true to the name of my show, which is authenticity, and really honoring that part of me. Not knowing, we had spoke before I pushed record and we went live, is that it's important that everyone sees the process
Mhm. Yeah.
and to step through those fears.
Mhm.
And this is one of those moments where I had to step through that fear of not being perfect or being okay with not knowing what I was doing, because it really does allow others to see that it's okay to be vulnerable, because vulnerable is a strength, not a weakness.
Mhm.
And I feel the power of that vulnerability in this moment with you.
Likewise.
Thank you again for
Mhm.
being here with me in this moment of rebirth. I love going back to what you said about your light language, how it started taking a life of its own and it just started to unfold. And now it's something that you do all the time.
Yeah.
sometime during this show, you'll have to give us an example. You don't have to. I guess have is not the word.
I would love to. I even have my drum right here in case, I'm so open and I'd be so happy to
It's
do little
definitely,
snippets and we can talk about it and yeah, so what I'm open to anything and it's super easy to be open and vulnerable with you and authentic with you. So I also just appreciate the space that you hold and because it did take me a bit to get through the awkwardness of I channel light language and really being authentic in that. And how do I even show up in the world without excuse? So I'm selective on who I share it with. If I'm meeting a stranger who, at a store, oh, what do you do for a living? I might not go jump right into a channel light language, right? And so it's also been one of these modalities that it can be seen in so many different ways. And so some people who view channelers, they actually think that they're doing something really dark, right? And so
mhm.
some people like, oh, that's the work of the devil, and so it is really interesting to be growing in my path that I can hear that. And years ago, I wouldn't be able to. Like I would have to be like, oh gosh, what do people think? And absolutely, some people actually think that this is not okay, and they have some really strong feelings about it. And for me to even stand and like, you can have your strong feelings is a huge growth process for me. As a child, no way could was I in this kind of, I'm okay with people not liking me or feeling like I'm different. And I love the name of your show. In November, I wrote an article about embracing authenticity. And in there, I talk about being authentic means I took like the slide down the bell curve from the normal part of the bell curve out to an outlier part. And how do I be in that outlier part with confidence, with knowing that I am not necessarily within the mainstream, but without carrying all the stigma or the judgment with it, but carrying the beauty of it. And so it's been a journey too, even with my family who, this is not up their sleeve, like they don't even know how to orient to me, with this. So we talk about the weather and puppy dogs and we're good to go. But they can't even touch it. So to be on a show called Authenticity with you and to be vulnerable and to share not just the beauty of light language, but my own process in a really open way. I appreciate that. So yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Now, you said it started with your hands as well.
It did. So I was doing another energy healing modality, and my hands would just go and move. And I didn't really know what that was. I was like, oh, this is some form of energy work. And I could really trust what was happening and my connection with spirit. And I could, receive the feedback from clients like, oh, no, I feel this, and this is helping me move this and that. And so that was just really beautiful. And then when it came through verbally, I went to Jamie Price's books. Jamie
Mm,
Price, Jamie
I
Price.
do. Yeah.
Oh, she's so great. So she wrote this book, Opening to Light Language, and it just helped me to orient to this as an energy healing modality. And her book then also, without it being explicitly in the book, helped me integrate all the other modalities that I had been trained in. Like, oh, I'm really understanding that in this part of the light language, it's actively doing this and that's what's happening. But her book helped me really ground it. And just her example of being a practitioner of light language, her example of it in the world, I wrote her a thank you note recently. I'm like, just thank you for being you. Like I'm not asking anything. I just want to say thank you for being you. And so it's just really, I just have a lot of gratitude for her. And also to helping understand more and to provide the language for what it is. Light language, it's an encoded, multidimensional channeled language. And those codes carry frequencies, healing frequencies, dynamic healing frequencies. And so they're dynamic in the way that they're shifting according to what a group or an individual might need in the moment. And they're also active, that they're doing something. And so by reading Jamie's book, I was able to be like, oh, she's putting into language, into
Mm.
English language, what's happening in a light language session. And so it was beautiful to find her book to actually have some sort of orientation to, I feel this is what I'm supposed to be doing, but how do I hold it? How do I navigate with it? How do I really ground this very mysterious, multidimensional, abstract into a healing practice that is understood and grounded? So she was really helpful in that process, and um, yeah, I appreciate
Uh,
her.
I'm going to have to purchase her book and
Um,
and read it myself to assist me understanding or have this more of an understanding of what I'm doing. You know, mine feels a lot like that I'm doing service work with the crystalline grid,
yes.
moving energy in the fifth dimensional or higher. Um, it seems like that's what I'm doing. I have this feeling that I'm assisting in that manner and that I've been building that technology within myself, right? Because it also, this energy is working with my body vehicle.
Mm.
And so I will feel the movements assist within me, the Kundalini energy, and then the way that my hands move and what they're doing. And then other times it's energetic out here. And so I feel every day the knowing and understanding is becoming more clear on how what I'm doing. But I look forward to more clarity. You know, I ask for clarity, and perhaps this book will guide me. So I'm grateful that you brought this up.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a moment and just check my phone and see how things look
Yes.
on there and if there's comments and how they look. Energetic out here. Oh, here. And you can hear me? I feel every day the knowing and understanding is okay, it's working so far. What I'm great. Um, we did it. We're on Facebook, by the way.
So fun. And I'm so happy for you. It's working.
Oh, it's
Like what a
work.
beautiful launch into this part of your path. Yeah, and at the beginning of a year is extra beautiful. I mean, any time of the year is fantastic for the beginning of a new path. Yeah, but
It is. Do you want to take this moment? Do you have anything you to do to prepare to show us a little snippet of what you do?
I could just jump in, but I would like to do just a little more information about it, just in case people are
Please.
listening.
Yes,
So,
they
so
are.
one of the things that I like to say before I do any channeling is that as an energy healing practitioner, I don't come in and work on people. So when I do the transmission of light language, I, as Carrie, am not coming in and moving people's energy around. I'm not doing anything. So I'm not working on people. I work in tandem with them. And so what happens is that the light language is a non-linear language. It's not like English or Spanish, which it's learned and memorized. It's a nonlinear channeled language. And we have an aspect of ourselves, our higher self, which is the nonlinear aspect. So the higher self can work with the nonlinear language. So the higher self works as a bridge between the language that's coming in and the physical, mental, and emotional levels of our being. And so the light language acts with free will. So if I do a channeling of light language, someone's higher self is going to be like, oh, no, I can work with the codes embedded in this light language. And someone else might be like, no, this is not appropriate for me at this time. And so I love to mention that too, because it's it's potent. And so the light language comes in with this, I'm here to do something, and someone's higher self is like, okay, I'll work with those codes that are coming in through this transmission. And what can happen is that people can feel tingly, they can feel warm, they can feel a temperature change, some people have visions like a shamanic journey. Some people don't feel anything at all, and that's completely okay. For me, it's more important what people are feeling after the transmission in their lives. Are they feeling more joy? Are they feeling more connected to spirit? Can they speak their truth more? Are they standing more in their power? Are their thought processes better? Healthier relationships? Like what's the change after in the hours, days, and weeks after the session? So if people don't feel anything in the moment, I don't it's okay. And so just wanted to at least put that part in, that it's really the transmission is a nonlinear language, and someone's higher self will work with the nonlinear language only as it's appropriate for them. And so if someone's driving right now, that maybe not be the most appropriate time for them to be receiving a light language transmission.
Right.
or they'll
Yeah.
receive little bits of it, but not, like, yeah. Okay, so with that, I can do, why don't I can do a few minutes of light language and I'll stop and see if there's questions or anything you want to share, and then I can do a little more and maybe a different kind.
And I'll check comments too to see if anybody's asking any questions.
Okay.
And I have both feet on the ground.
All right, let's
I'm
see what's
ready.
up. Okay. Shalan tan duan du lo la hi he lan tia le. Du lo la hi he lan klayan tan do lo lan kan do. Du la hi lan chan dan. Klo la hi le he la hi he le lan kan. He le la yo. Shalan klan dan do lo ni. He lan klan tan do lo man. He lan tan da li le he la yo. Humalan, helan tan, shalan klantan, dolo la hi helan, helan, humalan, tielan tandoni, shandalan klandolan, kalantielan, hele, kolola hielan, tielan, dolo malan klando, Huya helan tielan, kalantan dua helan, helan chi helan kan, kalayan tan helolo man, huyang tan dan dolan tan dolola helele, hela ye, hunalan tan, shandua helo, Hela hi he, kulu malan helan, kalantan dolo lantan, shalan hele la clandando, hele lantan dande, hele lantilanto, shalan hele lo lantan, hele hele lan, hele lantilanto.
Mm. Mm. My eyes are watering. That was so beautiful. I'm sure everyone who's listening is honored. I just have just this love is just pouring out of me. These tears are of gratitude for this moment. Um, I definitely felt that. Need a drink. In the moment that you're doing that, do you know exactly what is the translation of that you just did?
So for me, it's really fun on this end where my job, I basically rest in my heart, and then my mind will kind of track the light language, what it's doing. So in my hands, it's so fun. So my spirit will work with my hands and be like, we're in the subconscious mind, we're in the past, we're in a past life,
Mm.
we are in the ancestral line, and so spirit, there's part of the what's going on with my hands as light language, and part of it is spirit like pointing to things
Ah.
to help me know what is going on. And so I don't necessarily feel the light language as translatable, like word for word, like you could do English to Spanish. Though I have seen someone, I don't know if you know Ruben Langdon, he does the interview with Ed, and Ed stands for extra dimensionals. He's a beautiful man, and he does a show. And on there, he did an episode on light language, and there was someone on the show that could translate light language. And it was so fun to see. And so someone would channel and someone would translate, and that was fun. And so for me, I don't see it as so much as something that gets translated, um, unless I switch it to using it for that. So that light language that just came through was for someone's higher self to work with it as appropriate for healing and evolution and stuff. But I can switch and ask spirit, can I use light language to get information? And so
Mm,
when I do that, I'll get some information, but even like it will be like we're working in like age between age 4 and 7. But it's not like the light language it says that. It's more like a knowing comes in through the light language and then somehow gets translated into English.
right,
And so to also use it to get information. So someone recently gave me this beautiful gift, and so I could, if I wanted to, ask Spirit, can you help me access the information in here? Make sure it doesn't need a clearing or something. And the
right.
light language will then work with like it will do a frequency that will tell me the energy of this. And so in that too, it's not quite translatable, but in terms of like light language to English and in that kind of translation, where there's information that comes through, which has also been really fun to learn how to work with it that way. Yeah.
Like clear cognizance,
Yes.
right? You have this knowing, this, all of a sudden you just know,
Mhm. Yeah.
and it becomes clear. And like for me, sometimes you'll have an aha moment and go, oh, that's what that was showing me. You know, it comes through with sound and frequency, and you mentioned that sometimes it source is pointing at something, or you know, it's so fascinating to see how we're evolving,
Mhm.
the next steps of higher dimensional beingness. And sometimes I wonder if we'll need to speak, because telepathically we're communicating. At least for me, my experiences is, you know, like if I telepathically try to speak to someone, or I am speaking to someone, their response is usually very, you know, it's immediate. Text
Mhm.
message, phone call, you know, we're meeting up, and um, the gifts are showing up left and right. We
Mhm.
are being supported. And sometimes it doesn't look like that,
Yeah.
you know, but I do feel the support all around me.
Yeah.
I have taken a year, it was a year November that I quit working outside of the home. You know, I what most people would call a 9 to 5 job. And I felt that guidance in faith and trust that I would be supported.
Mhm.
And that support would come so that I may align even higher and embody more of what is needed to move forward, and how the plan is truly magnificent and divine. And it took me stepping away from something that wasn't authentic to me to understand that. Because a lot of what we have learned is that we don't do or take the next steps based on fear.
Yeah.
And so I realized, the more I let go of that fear, which came in stages and in steps, and it wasn't always easy and it was scary, but I'm still here and I'm still being supported, right? So that faith in knowing that even if it seems like we're not doing enough, and I'm sure many of us can say that, where am I doing enough? Um, you know, I may not have retreats, or I'm not at a place where I'm doing sessions.
Mhm.
Am I doing enough? And I always come back to trusting that it's unfolding for me in my own personal way, the way that it is assisting all of it. that is just as important as your role, having holding this space and this platform so people may meet Kerry and introduce your service, um, is important to me. That even though I don't have that as a service, my service to humanity is introducing Kerry. So they may align with you if they feel called to. I've spent many of years sharing openly about ascension and embodiment openly on Facebook, uh, regardless if people in my friends or family circle knew what I was sharing. A lot of it, they probably, I'm sure, thought I was nuts or, a little kooky. But that never stopped me. That never stopped me from sharing. And I've shared different sisters and brothers because truly what I saw in others is that they had the same desire, the desire for unity, to feel that we're not separate,
Mhm.
that there is oneness, that we are oneness.
Yeah.
But the unraveling within and without can become comfortable.
Extremely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And so, what people may call shadow work, you see a lot of that on, um, different platforms, TikTok, Facebook. It's becoming more mainstream. People are desiring a better world. They know there's a different way. What years ago, I would say maybe, 2016, even 2017, the conversations weren't as fluid and acceptable, and they are now. So I know that we have shifted many timelines and collapsed many timelines to be where we're at. I know for certain for myself and the love that I have for you and all who are watching, and that together we're transforming one word, one step, one light language at a time. And it feels amazing. I love your smile, by the way. It's so warm. It's so
It's just
great, I have
so
to
fun
say.
to spend time with you, and I relate to so much that you shared, and even in terms of authenticity, and even for me having a healing practice, then what how am I doing this? Somebody's like, oh, Carrie, you should have a podcast, or you could do those little short videos. And I'm like, oh, but it's not authentic to me.
Right.
Like it's just not in me. And so what is deemed as gosh, almost like from culture, even if it's a counterculture or the spiritual community culture, what does it really mean to be in service or have a practice? Or there's still all of these kind of, standards or ideas placed upon. And it's been this sorting out. I'm like, no, this is how I need to show up. I really love being as big or small as I am in terms of my work that I'm doing and how many people I'm reaching, and this feels good for me. That might change over time, but I have some friends like, Carrie, you could blah blah blah, and I'm like, maybe, but my personality doesn't even match that. So where is that coming from? Like, I don't. And so it's interesting, like to even navigate forward in authenticity in my path, knowing that that's also just not the ultimate work. I don't know if you know of the channel Paul Selig. Do you know his work at all? He
I
does
feel like I do.
attunements to the Christ consciousness, and in his
Mm,
work, there is an attunement that says, "I know who I am, I know what I am, I know how I serve." And so I know who I am as love. That's who I ultimately am. What I
right.
am is love embodied in this form. And how I serve is that, how does it go? Is I know who I am, I know what I am, I know how I serve. it's remembering that we are spirit and form. That's how we serve. And so he's like, it doesn't matter, or the guides that channel through him, it doesn't matter if you're a painter, if you're a podcaster, if
Yeah.
you're whatever it is, how you serve ultimately is remembering that you're love and form. That's
Yeah.
it. That's it. And anything else is extra. So when you were speaking about, doing the podcast, I'm like, even before the podcast, you're just love and form, and I feel it. And I'll share what I shared before we started, is that I was telling you that you left me these two messages on Facebook, a voice message, and I could feel the love in the vibration of your voice. And I was like, I can't wait to join her on our podcast. Like, who is this sister? Like, and so regardless if, if you become do you practice? I feel it and I witness it and I celebrate you. I heard, yeah, and so, yeah. Anyway, just wanted to say that for whatever it's worth. And, can we
And
remember who we really are?
that's such a beautiful point. I was having a conversation with a beautiful sister. I don't know if she's listening, but her name is Sarah Reamer, and my friend Laura Lee Lewis. And they are great sisters. And I was explaining to them, we were meeting a Buddhist monk. Um, and he asked me what do you do? Do you have retreats? And I returned tell him that I have a podcast, and intuitive and way shower here in Boise, um, and I really relate to what you're saying, because it, it's not authentic to me to be an ascension guide, or to write a course on ascension and how to do that. So some things I may have not done because it didn't feel authentic, and really trusting the unfoldment now, that we're exactly where we all need to be,
Mhm.
that we're spiritual beings having a human experience,
Yeah.
embodying more of that divine divinity, the Christ itself
Mhm.
in form,
Yeah.
so that we show by being that, the example of what that means. I had a beautiful sister who lives in Montana that was on my show, and she does horse. She works with horses and does therapy through horses. And where I'm going with that is that she went back to Montana and left Sedona, and really was grounding what it's like to be human in the mundane of it, right? She was talking about how she found joy in cleaning up after the horses and feeding this and doing that. And that was her heaven. And that she was going to way show through that direction. And that we're all way showing in our own way.
Yeah.
Every single one of us.
And it's all valid. Like all the
Yes.
different expressions are valid. I read something recently, and it was someone was saying about how, they were talking about light workers, and a light worker might not have a practice. They might not even know it. They just carry joy in their being, and that's a
Mhm.
light worker. They can, get angry and come back to joy really quickly and
Yes.
just be, and they can smile at people. That's a light worker, and it's
Yeah.
completely valid. And I love that it's not necessarily in the form that is almost prescribed by certain aspects of our culture. And that was the other thing I was writing about last November in the embracing authenticity, is realizing where I've been socialized in ways that I don't even see. So in
Mm.
terms of being authentic, it's like, where are these programs? Where am I indoctrinated? Indoctrination can be so insidious. Like, what walls am I coming up against because of just simple socialization? And there's nothing wrong with that, but at some point we really grow out of some of those beliefs, and they don't fit our soul signature so much. And so to really be able to identify them and become more and more authentic, And that's even in my work, what's authentic to me in my work and how I want to show up. And I don't think I can ever write a blog. Like I say that now. I don't know who I'll be in 2 years, so I shouldn't say never. But
Mhm.
I love writing monthly articles, and I sit with them, and I process, and I grow as I write, and that's where I'm at. And it's not even to promote my work. It's just another part of me. Like, oh, Carrie, you should try this into light language. I'm like, do I need to? So
Mm.
yeah, yeah.
It is beautiful that you're honoring yourself and speaking so clearly. And I know that many of us can hear you. I know I hear you clearly and can relate to everything that you're saying in my own service work and how I show up. And it changes every day because we are multidimensional and it happens so seamlessly.
Mm.
In moment to moment, once you realize that you're multidimensional, I see it in when I look in the mirror. And this is going to sound bizarre, but I have a couple of eyebrow hairs that are white,
Yeah.
but I'm letting my hair go natural. And depending on which dimension I'm in, I can tell by my appearance because those white hairs aren't there. They're blonde or they're not even visible. And it can change moment to moment. And it has to do with what I've come to know in this now moment is that we step in and out of different realms and dimensions, which is the same thing
Yeah.
for what's needed in that moment. And so if I walk into a situation or a person, it is sometimes alchemy, right? We're doing 0 point work,
Mhm.
sometimes unknowingly. And then afterwards, we're like, ah, now I see what we did there. Because we get to repeat some situations from a different perspective.
Yes. I was thinking about that maybe an hour before the call. And I even wrote myself a note because I was going to write about it for this month. Is that sense of when we almost recreate a situation from the past so we can deal with it differently. And that
Mhm.
happened to me just maybe 4 days ago now. I started this year with a kerfuffle. And I don't have many bumps, I kind of have like a pretty steady, almost, no drama kind of life. And so when a drama comes in, I'm like, whoa, that just happened.
Yeah.
But when it comes, it really comes. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is exact kind of energy I met 4 years ago. And look, I'm dealing with this differently. And I was like, I'm so grateful for this kerfuffle. And I was like, this is a great way to start this year. And so, it wasn't like, oh gosh, what is this year going to bring? I knew that there was magic in this drama. And I'm not a big drama person, but I was like, bring it, because my flame is burning through this. I am not being gaslit. I'm not being scapegoated. Like I am not the cause of your pain. And I
Yeah.
know this through and through. It's not that I was bypassing responsibility, but I knew what got triggered in someone else was I wasn't the cause. And that's something I wrote about in this one article, authenticity, is I used to believe I was the cause of other people's pain from childhood. And I
Uh,
was like, oh, look at this. This person is blaming me for something that happened in her childhood, even though she's older than me. I wasn't around in her childhood. And anyway, but I was like, wow, I'm not taking it. I'm not receiving this. And so and my inner flame knew what this was, and to really trust, my mind was catching up to what my flame knew. And I was like, I'm gonna trust this flame of mine. And so it's really similar to something that happened 4 years ago, but to show up so differently. I was like, oh goodness, look at this. This is helping me to break through not just what happened 4 years ago, but what was imprinted with, you could say it that way, I guess, is from childhood. What is this
yeah.
childhood pattern that I'm burning through? Like I can't hold this in my field. I can't play with this, like I'm burning this and moving on, and gonna have a wonderful year ahead. And so yeah, I get the reoccurrence of old things, but it's seeing it in a new perspective and from who we are in this moment. Yeah. So hopefully in 4 years
Yes.
I don't have to recreate this at all. We'll see.
I know. I know. We want to have a clean slate, right? A blank canvas to create from when we move forward. When every 2024, people would create resolutions, New Year resolutions. I'm not going to do this, and I'm not going to do that, or this is my goal this year, and I honor everyone's process, right? I'm not saying that you're not supposed to do that
Yeah.
at all. I'm just saying that going back to what society has, what we thought we were supposed to do or create, some of these experiences, unlearning some of these behaviors, like you said.
Mhm.
And what I understand, and I tell my friends, my vibration immediately reflects back to me when I'm not in alignment.
Mhm.
If I'm in judgment, or the last few months have been teaching me how the new earth frequencies work, and how not everyone would be experiencing that, which I am now, but it's preparing me what's coming, and how the new earth energies work, and how when we create in a fifth dimensional or higher vibrational state, that it comes from a 0 point field, and that everything comes from a place from the heart, and that to create in the new, that we keep all in our vocabulary. When we create new things and new ideas, how is this going to affect everyone? Is this beneficial to everyone? What is my intentions? I wrote about intentions on my Facebook page, and trust. What is my intentions before I start something, even this video podcast or today? And that's really the mastery that we're all coming into. And every day is showing us, where are you in that mastery? And I'm grateful for that, because in service to self is how we're in service to others.
Yeah, and it's not being selfish. Coming back to our hearts and grounding ourselves back into, as you were saying, when we're out of alignment to come back, it's not selfish to do that. It's a service to ourselves. And then there's a ripple effect outwardly.
There really is. And I don't have to, it's becoming more and more a way of being for me. I don't sway to the left or to the right too much. But when I do come back
Mhm.
and check with myself often. And it takes discipline. I'll have conversations with people, and they just say, I'm just not there yet. I'm not quite where you're at. And I explain to them that that's okay. It's okay to be wherever we are at, because our soul designed it exactly for us
Mhm.
the way we needed it. I did it for me this way. Whatever occurred today for me to push me to have my own podcast or to come on today, I designed for myself, right?
Mhm.
Ultimately, perhaps if this didn't occur, I wouldn't have.
Mhm.
And so that's where I find the gratitude in these moments.
And I'm
There's
so
always
happy you
something to
did.
be grateful for. I want to see what time it was. It's boy, mm, it's 10 minutes till. And so I wanted to ask you if you wanted to share anything else from your light language, from your heart to us and all that are listening.
Ah. I could do a short transmission if you like, or a song,
Do you want to
or
do a song?
yeah. Are you?
Okay.
But
I
only if that's. I can also. I don't know if you wanted to wrap up. I could settle
we
into my
can
heart.
we can go over. I don't know how Zoom works. You know how it sets you up for an hour? I don't know if it's going to cut
Oh.
us off or
Well, how about I say, instead of doing a song, I do a free monthly Zoom light language gathering every month. And so if someone wanted to hear more of it or just come and experience light language, it's
okay.
free. It's a small gathering, usually under 20
Perfect.
people. I set a sacred space in the beginning. I talk for about 3 to 5 minutes about what light language is and what to expect, and then do about a 35 to 40 minute transmission, and then at the end people can share. And so if people want to experience light language, it's a way to come and gather, and people just they settle into their hearts. Some people shut their video off, they fall asleep. It's just a really lovely way to gather once a month and move stuff to be the next best versions of ourselves. And so it's just to put that out there for a welcome to people who might want to come and join that circle.
What's the name of your? Is it going to be on your website?
It's I don't think it's on my website. So what I do is through my newsletter, I just send out the Zoom link through my newsletter. Or if people
Okay.
just say, "Hey, Carrie, I'm interested in your next one. Can you send me the link?" And so then I posted on Facebook the next light language gathering will be
Oh, that's right.
January 27th. You're welcome to come. Contact me for the link. Sometimes I post the link on Facebook, but I did get Zoom bombed once, so that was kind of funny. Yeah.
What's Zoom bombed?
Zoom bombing is when people look for links on social media or whatever, and they join in the Zoom call just to disturb the Zoom call. And so it was a beautiful experience for me. And I'll be really short-winded about it. But so someone came in, I didn't flinch. I opened my eyes. I was still channeling light language, and it didn't disturb me. And people had their eyes closed, so they didn't even know what was going on. And so and so I just hit remove, and just kept going. And so it was a good learning for me to see like, oh, wait a second, this didn't bother me. Like that was really cool. Thanks for Zoom bombing me for me to see that I can still hold that space and simply, say
Mm.
remove, send you off with some love. But anyway, that's kind of a tangent. But yeah, so
I
people
didn't
can
even know that
contact
was
me
a
for the link.
thing. I didn't even know that was a thing. So you just introduced me to something that could happen to me.
It's just nice to be aware that people do these things, like I don't hide the Zoom link anymore out of fear. It's just more of like, I'm here to set sacred space. I'm here to do some light language and yeah, keep it focused, for me.
Carrie, you're in California?
I am, yes, in Sacramento.
Sacramento. Ooh, beautiful. Is it warm?
Technically for me, it's like a little chilly. Right now, it's about like 50 degrees. Yeah,
Uh, yeah, I woke up to, I think it was 19 or something, or 20 degrees.
yeah, yeah.
I love to sun gaze in the morning, and I went outside and I was like, oh boy, I'm going to move somewhere warm someday. I just know it.
I'm a warm climate kind of gal, so yeah, so 50 is a little chilly for me. Yeah. But thank you so much for this. What a
Carrie,
blessing
I want
to,
to have you back on after I've had a little practice and go back after we get off and see how it went on Facebook and look at the comments and connect with everyone. Thank you for joining me today.
thank you for doing this and thank you for inviting me. Yeah, it's not to be cheesy, but it feels really sacred to spend time with you and I really appreciate it.
I feel your sacred love, and I'm going to join you on your monthly light language. I want to empower that and be a part of that. And I invite all who are watching to join us. I love you. I thank you.
Yeah, thank
Happy
you
now
so
year to
much.
you. Bye, my dear.
Bye bye.
Let's see if I know how to end this.